Welcome, guys, to a Doomsday Clock Countdown with John Hoover and Josh Schwartz. We'll be walking you through the brand new Doomsday Clock series, follow up to the critically acclaimed and world famous Watchmen series of comics. Also had a movie based off of it and a number of other things. So yeah, John Hoover here and also Josh Schwartz.
Hey, everybody. So, John, during this podcast, we'll be talking about the first issue. We have read the second issue, but I think we're going to talk about that separately another time.
Right. Yeah. Basically, what we'll try to do is we'll try to do it one episode at a time. So this one we'll be talking about issue number 1, and also, a little bit just background information about why Watchmen matters, stuff like that, why it's, such a huge thing. While I know I was super excited when I saw that they were doing a follow-up series to it. Pretty cool.
Yeah. I have reservations about it. I'm usually pretty I don't know, not the easiest person to impress with things.
Right.
So we'll see. I have some good feelings about things and some questions about stuff, but just like the original Watchmen, the original Watchmen was 12 issues, and this sequel is a direct sequel, and it's also scheduled to be 12 issues, but it's also a crossover into the DC universe, whereas the original Watchmen was entirely its own separate thing. Didn't really have, it was published by DC, but there was didn't take place in the same world as Superman, Batman, and all the other popular characters. Guess I'll show off the cover real quick.
Yeah.
If you're watching the video and not listening to the podcast, there's a variant cover for the first issue that has Rorschach's face on it, that has a lenticular cover. So when you change the angle, it changes the face, and it goes from his ink blot like face to a design of Batman, Superman, and a Wonder Woman on it. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, it's really cool. If you guys haven't seen it, you should look it up online, check it out. It's a very interesting, and I guess it puts it right on Front Street that, part of what this Doomsday Clock is going to do is it's going to, put together the Watchmen universe with the traditional DC universe, what we think of as DC universe. The variant cover itself actually has the symbols for Superman and Batman woven in with the face of Rorschach. So
yeah. Wonder Woman's on there too. She's in the...
Oh, is she in there as well? Okay.
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah, there she is.
Right there.
Okay, yep, we're in the center. Cool.
Yep. So she hasn't actually appeared in two issues that we've seen so far, but I guess I'll talk about the original for a little bit and why when I read it and why it's important. You can add, if you want to add some stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
But so John and I both, me specifically, John and I are about the same age. I don't know your age.
37, John, almost 38.
Yeah, 38, almost 39.
There we go.
So it came out when I was in first grade. So I did not read it when it first came out, and when I got into comics a little after that, it was a lot of the normal, more age appropriate for my stuff. It was a lot of the X-Men. It was with when Image Comics first got formed. So you had Spawn and all that stuff. I actually started my first my first Marvel comic subscription was Silver Surfer, and so it was actually right at the beginning of the Infinity Gauntlet storyline and everything. So that was when I was actually into comics, and I really didn't get into the more serious comics until I was in the Navy, and a friend Dave Folsby and he was also into comics, and we were talking about stuff, and so through him I got back into comics, and namely Watchmen and Sandman series, and reading that was going and reading Watchmen was wonderful. It was the first real comic that I read that focused on more adult characteristics, adult stories, superheroes that weren't necessarily superheroes. They didn't have, except with the exception of like Dr. Manhattan and Ozymandias, if you
Right.
consider super smart. They're basically just normal people that are kind of vigilantes. And it was it for comic books in general at that time. That really hadn't been done before, and notably, a lot of Alan Moore's other books did the same thing for a lot of stuff, and comic books were definitely changed like after the Watchmen came out.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I agree. My introduction to Watchmen, I think I was trying to think back when I first saw the Watchmen. It has to be when I was in the Navy. Somebody must have been talking about it there because that's where a lot of that stuff. It was the first time I was ever around a significant number of other geeks. Growing up in my school and stuff like that, there wasn't a large population of that. I played sports and stuff like that. The people I hung around with in high school weren't they weren't geeks at all. They weren't reading comic books for sure. I was the only guy that I knew of in my high school that had a comic book collection at home. Was going home reading issues of X-Men and Spawn and Spider-Man and whatever else that was really into back then. Yeah, so it must have been when I joined the Navy that I first heard of it. Had my copy of the actual full Watchmen graphic novel that I've had this thing. I wonder if it has a printed date on it. I bet it does.
Yeah,
I must have gotten this back.
My copy here.
Let's see. I wonder.
Yeah, we were both fans before the movie even was a a rumor.
I don't know. I'm not sure when I got this exactly. But anyways, I read this well before the movie was ever going to come out or anything like that. I don't necessarily have any problem with the movie. I enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed it more than a lot of people enjoy it.
Yeah, I think it's not perfect, but like I like a lot of comic book movies and stuff. You kind of had to not associate them too much, and then I don't really care that they changed the ending for the movie, but I understand why to try to make it more mainstream and everything.
Yeah, versus trying to have to introduce alien psychic beings and playing with all the psychic stuff that
was a little bit too comic booky for a movie,
right? Especially back then. I mean, now they would probably go with it now, but back then, I mean, you didn't have the Avengers and Marvel doing everything they're doing. You didn't have friggin' what's his face, the villain from Justice League, Steppenwolf, showing up, stuff like that.
Yeah, just so you guys know, full on spoilers for everything. Yeah. All what nothing held back. And just had a weird thought the other day, John. I was looking back. I know we were going to do this, so I looked back at the original Watchmen, and like the whole plot with like the spawning the giant alien to kill everybody, like millions of people in New York to bring about world peace. How, like, if anything, I understand like that would unite everybody, but like they actually like lead that to like nuclear disarmament, and like you have this giant like space threat. Like, why is everybody going to get rid of nukes? Like, if anything, there'd be like everybody teaming together to make like the best killing machines possible.
Right. Not only do we now need nukes, but we need nukes that can go interdimensional, because that was the whole idea, was that it came from another dimension and it's mind snapped. And that was one thing when I was rereading The Watchmen, getting ready to do this, that I noticed is it seems like it doesn't make any sense as far as like this thing appears, dies instantly, a bunch of people die around it.
Mm-hmm.
Why would that be perceived as, why would that be perceived as an attack versus like just something going horribly wrong? And a lot of people died as a result of it, but it doesn't seem like it's really necessarily an attack. Like maybe I'm missing something that was there. Maybe, because I was reading it pretty quickly, maybe I skimmed over something that I'd forgotten about before, but it didn't really seem to make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
But let's move on to talking about the news.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Before we because we'll end up spending an hour diving into Watchmen. Like that could easily happen here.
Yeah, that'll be our spin-off series.
Yeah, right. Breaking down the Watchmen.
Yeah. Nobody's ever done that before.
Yeah, that's never been a thing.
So the new series, issues starts off with it's 1992, I believe. The old
it's 7 years later, I think, if I remember right.
Yeah, it's 7 years after the events.
It is.
Let's just go with that, so we don't have to keep on thinking about years. But
92, yeah. November 22nd, 1992.
The man, I don't even know how to start talking about this, but like the opening part, Ozymandias' like plan has like been unveiled.
Right.
Rorschach's old journal was found and published, and eventually it was figured out that like it's just all a trick, and nations of the world think that the U.S. was in on it, and this triggers basically an all-out nuclear attack.
Right.
It's kind of the original Watchmen, for those that don't remember or haven't read it, was during the Cold War, and there was a lot of stress about nations like fighting, going end up blowing up each other, and that's actually going to happen in the first issue of the new one.
Yeah, and one of the things that I noticed about it was when I was rereading again The Watchmen, I was looking at those last scenes again to see like, okay, I remember, I have a vague memory of how it ended, but not real clear exactly what was going on there. And it ends with, the final pages of this thing. One thing about the Watchmen series was they had the Doomsday Clock going along each time along the way, right? It was counting down to the final series. And when it does finally end, the final pages of it are basically a newsroom again, which played a big part in the original Watchmen series, and a upper level, editor type talking to a lower, kind of actually looks a little bit like maybe they were making fun of James Olsen. Is what look at the character, like he has the reddish curly hair, big buck teeth, like some freckles. Like it looks like they're basically making fun of James Olsen is what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the final scene is with this kid having the journal there on top of a bunch of letters and notes that they've received from somebody else. They're supposed to pick something to publish. And the final frame of it shows the Doomsday Clock at midnight. One of the things from the original series that carries on into the Doomsday series is they're all 9-panel pages all the way through, with rare exception. There are exceptions to that where you might have 3, and then in this case it's 2 and 1. And the last frame is literally a black page with the Doomsday Clock finally striking. I don't know if I can say that or not, but finally being at midnight. So it kind of hints at the fact that, it's this plan of Ozymandias' or Viet, whatever we want to call him, is not going to be successful.
Yeah. Right. And another thing to bring up is that, so this is all this Rorschach journal. Rorschach, before they went to Antarctica, Rorschach, Night Owl, Silk Spectra, they all went off. Before they did that, Rorschach sent his journal in to, the newspaper,
right,
or the journal, and then Dr. Manhattan at the end kills Rorschach.
Right.
Because Rorschach's going to reveal everything.
Yep.
Rorschach says, that doesn't matter, that this is going to cause world peace. Like, he killed millions of people. Everybody needs to know about this. And so Dr. Manhattan just turns him into pulp.
Yes, literally. Granted, infinitely powerful. He could just snap his fingers and have a neuron misfire in his brain to have it be over with. But no, that's there's a bit of a viciousness to Dr. Manhattan and everything he does.
Yeah. And at the end, Dr. Manhattan goes off to, I think he says, actually, I'll look up the quote for what he says he's actually going to do, but something like going off to start his own.
He says he's going to go to a new galaxy or something like that. Maybe one that's a little bit simpler. Right. That's the key phrase when I was reading back through it that kind of caught my eye. He talks about going to a simpler place. Well, as insane and crazy as the prime DC universe is, in the grand scheme of things, it is much, much simpler. There's, good, it tends to be more black and white within the DC universe, superheroes versus villains, all that stuff. Yeah. It is a simpler world.
Yeah. Here's Ozymandias says, talking to Dr. Manhattan, and says, ask him if he's ingrained interest in human life. And Manhattan says, yes, I have. I think perhaps I'll create some.
Yep. There you go.
And then he leaves.
Yeah. So again, we're gonna spoil the shit out of Doomsday Clock. If you at least issue 1. If you haven't read issue 1 yet, I highly recommend you pause this, go read issue 1, then come back, and you can see what we're talking about and how you feel about it. That being said, when we pick up in issue 1, it picks up with Rorschach, or who we think is Rorschach, right?
Yeah, it is definitely somebody. Well, it is quickly revealed that it is somebody else, somebody with dark skin.
And as soon as I saw him, I was like, wait, didn't he die? Because I remember the movie scene very vividly of him being killed. And I actually went back and broke out the Watchmen book and said, all right, get to the last couple pages. Okay, yeah, there's Rorschach blown up. What the hell is going on here? Why is he back? This doesn't make any damn sense.
Yeah. And briefly, the art in the new series is really great. It's reminiscent of the original Watchmen series, but it's it's done. It's got a great palette, and it's definitely got I really dig the art style on it.
Yeah, I mean, an absolute shout out to Gary Frank, who's doing the inking for it, and then Brad Anderson, who is the colorist on the new series. It feels very much like the original Watchmen series. If you're watching this on Twitch right now, on the BEB Network Twitch channel, you can actually see one of the pages up there on the screen. And I mean, really, if that was dropped in and somebody told me that, hey, yeah, do you remember this scene in Watchmen? I wouldn't necessarily. I'd be like, oh, not really, but it sure looks like it.
Yeah.
It wouldn't strike me as being very odd. It does look a little bit. It definitely looks more modern. Like Watchmen, when you look at Watchmen, looks like an '80s comic book.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Not as a negative thing necessarily, but it looks like that comic style.
As amazing as when the Watchmen came out, like it defined what comics looked like afterwards. Like everybody else imitated Watchmen. Something else that blew my mind when I was looking up stuff for this was that everybody knows Comic Sans is a font. Apparently, Comic Sans is based off of David Gibbs' lettering in The Watchmen. So The Watchmen is basically Comic Sans, but when they made the font, they based it off of the text in the original Watchmen.
Yeah, that is very, very cool. I had no
I just
idea
thought
about
that was around like for a long time, but I'll have to look at some older comics and see like before that what the lettering and stuff looked like.
Yeah, without doubt. I mean, it never would have occurred to me that is the font. I'll have to actually type up some stuff in Comic Sans and look at it compared to the font that's in here and see what it looks like. I mean, that's pretty amazing that out of this book came a font that everyone still uses.
Yeah, somebody like 1992. Somebody at Microsoft made like the Comic Sans font, and they based it off of David Gibbs' like lettering in the Watchmen.
Okay, wow, that's cool.
All right,
so the Rorschach thing, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, when I first saw it, I was like, "What is going? What? Who? What?" And then obviously I went back, looked, and okay. So they do have Rorschach show up at the beginning of this comic. Now you found out, like Josh said, very, very quickly that it's not actually the original Rorschach. At least, he's takes a glove off at one point. You can see that he is black basically under the glove,
and he
presumably at least.
I don't know. Since I've read the second one, I'm gonna have a hard time remembering what exactly where the cutoff is between the two.
Oh, let's see.
But he loves pancakes apparently.
Right. Instead of cold beans out of a can.
Yeah, exactly. There's like several parts where like he hands somebody something else and it's like sticky from like syrup.
Yep.
But I'm trying to also remember if it's in this one or the next one that somebody calls him Reggie, and I don't know if that is like his actual name or if that is just like a quick like common name instead of Rorschach calling him Reggie. Like a cute like name, but
I don't remember that from the original Watchmen at all. But maybe.
No. I forgot if it's. I'm flipping through here, but I think it might be in the second issue. But Yeah, so it starts off with Rorschach breaking into prison to for a jailbreak to get out. A woman that's locked up. That's her. I forget what her actual name is, but her supervillain name is Marionette.
Yes, Marionette, and let's see, does Rorschach say her actual name? Oh, Erica Manson.
Yeah, and this is a character that wasn't in the original Watchmen series, and eventually she doesn't leave. Her husband's locked up in the same place, and they go to. She won't leave without him. It's not revealed right now why Rorschach's getting her out, but they were a supervillain team.
Team, right? And that you find out right away that Rorschach had a previous dealing with her, and talks about the fact that apparently he threatened to throw her down an elevator if he ever saw her again, elevator shaft.
Yeah.
Which was another thing that I thought maybe that was in the original Watchmen comic, but I forgot about it. I went back and looked, and it's nowhere to be found. So it's got to be from some other situation that was taking place somewhere else in the comic history between these guys.
Yeah, these are original characters to the Mime and the Marionette are original characters to the Doomsday Clock series, but they are just like the original Watchmen. All the original Watchmen characters are based off of characters from Charlton Comics, which was originally going to be the characters that were in the Watchmen, but DC originally was going to give Alan Moore the ability to use those characters, and then they realized that they'd be damaged goods and that they couldn't use them in their own stuff, so they had Alan just make up his own characters that were basically just analogs for the analogous with the Charlton characters. But these were two characters that were with that comic company as well, but they just weren't in the Watchmen. So I think that's pretty cool that they're still maintaining that sort of thing along.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm digging. I mean, personally, I'm digging everything about the new series. I'm enjoying it. I think it's cool. I always wanted to know, what would happen next in the Watchmen. So it seems like a cool place to pick up. I'm super excited to see Rorschach finally run into, presumably. I mean, so I'm not, despite the shirt I'm wearing at the moment, I'm not a huge Superman fan. My wife actually got this for me for Christmas, but I am a huge Batman fan. And I'm super excited to see Rorschach and Batman, the two craziest individuals from each of their universes basically run into each other.
Yeah, so if you haven't figured it out, this is an actual crossover. So at some point, like characters from the end of issue 1, characters from the Watchmen go into the standard DC universe.
Yeah,
so
you actually see Superman at the end of issue 1. They show up with, let's see if I can throw it up on our screen here. You get to see.
I will talk about
you see Superman and Lois. That, and this was one thing also that kind of threw me for a loop with this was in this. So the last page it ends up ending with Clark Kent and Lois Lane in bed together, and Clark mentions that he had a dream and that he never has dreams.
Yeah, that's something that
doesn't seem right to me. It seems like Superman must. I can't imagine Superman has never had a dream in the comics.
Yeah, I don't know. This is where, since I'm not the biggest DC nerd, I don't know how many universes there are and what instances of Superman there is, and after the death and rebirth of Superman, how things all ended up. And I know there's a bunch of other things. So I can only think that whatever timeline they're in, whatever instance of Superman, this is for him. This might be. I know that in 2011, DC did a reboot of a lot of their stuff, and they had they called it the New 52. It was they had 52 new comics that came out that basically put things restarted everything. And I know Superman was part of that, but I know there's rumors. There's nothing in the book that supports this yet, but there's rumors that when Dr. Manhattan left the Watchmen universe, he went to a DC, one of the other DC, maybe one of the 52 new 52 ones, and took Clark Kent's persona, and that Superman is actually Dr. Manhattan in cosplay
Right. So my thought that I had was that possibly it's going to be in that he's not Superman, that he's going to be in the Joker is what I was thinking maybe. Like he'll be the most insane character, the most insane villain in the DC universe is Dr.
Like
Manhattan
Snap.
cosplaying like Snapped basically, and the idea of Batman is kind of analogous analogy to Rorschach a little bit. When I think of them, they're both very brutal. They both have no special powers. They're both, detectives.
Yep.
And something about the symmetry of Dr. Manhattan being the Joker and fucking with that world's version of Rorschach for the last 7 years, it just seems like it lines up well. Like that kind of makes sense in an insane way. So that's my guess, is that I don't think they're going to make it quite as obvious as it being Superman.
Yeah. I mean, so one thing I'm worried about with this the series, since it's bleeding into normal DC, since they're not standalone characters, since they're not in their standalone universe, I don't see them being able to be as like gritty as the original one was. The original Watchmen covered some really heavy things.
Right.
It dealt with like domestic abuse, rape, all sorts of
very dark
violence and death. And the characters were portrayed as real characters versus,
comic
Superman.
book characters. Yeah.
And
they have very real flaws.
I hope that doesn't. I hope they can do this series and still make it as important.
Yeah, still have that.
It'll be something
element of reality.
Yeah, so I don't know how that's going to be, how they're going to take care of that, but and also I'm old, and I think it's the Watchmen is kind of like its own separate thing. And I'm doing my best to judge this as its own thing. And I don't want it to be like the Phantom Menace of
right. I don't need it retconned and made for, hey, we're gonna bring a brand new I'm hoping their goal is not to bring like a brand new audience into the Watchmen. I'm hoping that their goal is to continue the Watchmen story and make a great book, and if it ends up bringing more people in, then cool. If it just appeals to original fans, then cool also. Hopefully that's what, Geoff Johns, the writer of all this, is going for.
Yeah.
It's probably worth mentioning that I was amazed when I saw that I don't read nearly as many comics as I used to anymore. I wasn't real familiar with the name Geoff Johns when I first heard it, and didn't realize till I looked it up online that this is actually the CEO of DC Comics that is the writer on this comic. Involved with all the movies, involved with multiple TV shows, everything else.
Yeah, he does TV shows and everything. He's kind of like the lead for like the DC like cinematic, like I don't know if they call it the DC cinematic universe.
Yeah, whatever. I think the DCU. I think. Yeah.
But yeah, he's the kind of the unifying guy that makes it all work together.
Right, and I'm amazed he has time to do this, for one thing, with everything else that's got to be on this guy's plate. Pretty fantastic. I would love to get them, either him or Gary Frank or Brad Anderson or anybody else that's associated with the book, or even the original Watchmen book. If we can get somebody associated with that on the show at some point to talk about this stuff, it'd be awesome. So hopefully we can get somebody involved at some point.
Yeah. Let's want to continue about talking about what happens in the first.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We can totally cover some more of what happens there.
So Rorschach breaks out Marionette and Mime because she has a connection to Dr. Manhattan. I might be skipping ahead when it's actually revealed, but this is all in the first issue. She had a run-in with Dr. Manhattan, and she has a connection, and they eventually go back to the Night Owl's lair, and Ozymandias is there, who is like the number one person that everybody's like trying to find and kill because he's to blame for all this.
Yeah, opening scenes show people protesting Ozymandias. It is
storming his old office and everything.
Worldwide via Rorschach's journal now that he is the one that was actually responsible for killing half of New York City. Yeah.
And apparently Robert Redford is president in this.
So that's one thing I bumped against in this series. Is when it starts off in those opening pages of it, it pushes the Trump thing so damn hard.
Yeah.
Like, it really, really, really references like the current political situation in
It actually doesn't make
United States.
sense. Like, so Robert Redford, I guess, ran on a nuclear disarmament platform in the comic book and won, and he just won his re-election, or he's campaigning for his re-election. But like in the comic book, it references that like all hell is breaking loose, and like the president just got a hole-in-one and is like busy golfing.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, that's okay. Yeah. We're still waiting on a statement from the president, and it shows a golf bag in the background. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's like, man, is that ever obvious as far as like them referencing Trump? Like, you literally could not make it more obvious that that is what you're going for at that point. And it's just kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah, it just seems like it's a little forced.
Yeah, a little bit forced. I mean, granted, they had Nixon in the original series as the president at the time when everything was taking place.
Yep.
Which actually was like, that was part of their the Watchmen universe in of itself is based on our reality, but things changed in like, I think the 1930s. There was something that went differently. Maybe it's the Cuban Missile Crisis or something. I think.
Well, it was I think it was Dr. Manhattan that got produced, and he became.
That's what it is.
What was the
he ends the Vietnam War, doesn't he?
Yeah,
like, that's what it is.
Just like walks over there.
They show him they show giant Dr. Manhattan exploding people on the battlefield.
It's like something like God exists and he's an American is like
that might be the line
from like the original Watchmen.
Yeah.
Dr. Manhattan's such a great character. I really love how. Sorry, we're going back to talk about.
It's all good. Can't be helped.
But how they show like his point of view as because he experiences all time as one time,
right?
And like jumps between like past, present, and future, and it was a really great character.
Yeah,
all the characters.
Presumably, he'll be coming back.
Were great. Yes. So yeah, that brings so they find Ozymandias, who's also revealed to be dying, have a brain tumor.
Yeah, they reveal that right at the start of the whole thing, that he now has a brain tumor.
Yeah, I wonder if it's because he's been around Dr. Manhattan and like.
Right, because and I forget. I know that was part of the plot. Was that in the original Watchmen, Dr. Manhattan people around him are getting cancer, I think.
Yeah.
But wasn't that part of Ozymandias' plot? To make Dr. Manhattan think that he was causing people to have cancer?
I wasn't really. I don't think it was that clear. I haven't like read through it like with that specifically in mind, but it did seem like a thing that they were just trying to push, or just like a media thing that was just like trying to dig up dirt. I don't know if that was actually like confirmed anywhere. It was just. I know it wasn't confirmed anywhere that it was him. It could have just been happenstance that it was happening, but they, for whatever reason, now they are Rorschach, Ozymandias, Mime, Marionette they need to travel and try to find Dr. Manhattan to fix their world.
Right. Yeah, and the way. So this was one of the things I thought was actually kind of cool, as far as like when they're talking about how they're going to find Dr. Manhattan among all the universe, is Ozymandias goes on to talking about how everyone has a unique signature based on the fields around their body, and specifically the gravitational, weak nuclear, strong nuclear, and electromagnetic fields.
Yeah,
I think it's all in the first one, and that they're able to track Dr. Manhattan based on that because his is so unique, and that he basically is like constantly leaking electrons or something like that. I think they say. Yeah. So it's like
specifically electrons.
It's like kind of a cool idea, and then like at the last part of it, it kind of like falls off. Like, why are we saying electrons? This doesn't.
So anybody listening that doesn't know, John and I both have nuclear backgrounds, and that's about the most like ridiculous thing. Like I would have much preferred. It's still just as silly, but like I would have preferred like tachyons or neutrinos or something else, muons.
Yeah. Like
some other
sideways spinning corks or something like that they're shooting off. What? Yeah,
Yes.
like, and I was totally following along with the idea of the all right, you're going to talk about the forces, and you're going to talk about how everybody, you can somehow categorize these forces: the strong, weak, nuclear, electromagnetic, gravitational. Okay, cool. I'm totally cool with the idea. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Everybody's would be a little bit different. If somehow you could gather all that technology for every person, then sure.
Yeah.
Why electrons?
He might as well have said midichlorians.
Yeah, like, so are you going to accidentally find a nuclear reactor that's shooting off a bunch of electrons, or a power plant somewhere? Whatever, okay. So
Yeah.
I bumped against that a little bit. I'm like, so close.
Yeah, I forgive. But yeah, that was so there. It's weird that they're going to go to a whole other dimension to bring John back to try to fix theirs. I don't know what the plan is once they get him here.
Right, and I guess Ozymandias has his idea is that it's too far along now. They can't stop the Doomsday Clock at this point.
Yes.
Right. For those,
and
I would think everybody that listens to this is familiar with the Doomsday Clock itself, especially given the current situation here in our country and the fact that they just moved it 2 minutes from midnight. But the Doomsday Clock is basically a
real world thing.
It's a real world thing that scientists and political elites, I guess, would be a way to put it, say how close we are to nuclear war in our world. And it came about, I guess, must have came back in the 60s, maybe?
I'm
not exactly sure.
Actually, got started. Let me look it up. But
okay,
go ahead and talk about it, John.
But yeah, so the Doomsday Clock is a real world thing, and it is a big part of the Watchmen universe. Throughout the original series, you see the clock over and over and over again. It's slowly ticking towards midnight, and it's the reason that Ozymandias goes about his plan is to stop nuclear war from taking place. Within the book Doomsday Clock, it appears that he has now assumed the fact that it's going to happen. And the only way that they can possibly stop it is if they have a godlike figure to intervene and prevent the world from being destroyed.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if it's actually... No, they don't. It has in this issue, it hasn't actually happened. Spoiler, it might happen in the second one.
Might happen.
But Doomsday Clock was maintained since 1947 by members of the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists.
Okay.
So, yeah, it represents an analogy of the threat of global nuclear war.
Right. Yeah, I don't get one of the logical holes here for me is like, why would Dr. Manhattan care if one universe destroys itself? Assuming that he went to a new universe and there are infinite universes, presumably, if he can go to a new one, why would this one particular be enough to draw him away from the one he's at right now and come back to ours?
Yeah, and how would he not know already about it? Since, like, in the first Watchmen, it's shown that he is experiencing his entire life all the time, like from his moment of creation until I don't know when, like, his actual, like, in the Watchmen, like, it shows like him experiencing, like, him like putting himself atom by atom back together,
right,
while like all of the other events in the story are happening at the same time. So anything that's already happening in the future past this he's already knows about it. He might be waiting for them to come find him so things have to go along their normal path or something. But
you get a lot of statements from him that are, let's see, I can find one of them because I just saw one of them. Okay. He says, let's see, where's this at here? He talks about like 9 minutes from now or 45 seconds from now, I will do this. And then a few panels later, you see him say stuff like 45 seconds ago, I did the thing that you just saw or you just read. I don't know if that makes any sense at all to anybody listening to this, but
yeah,
I had a quote.
A lot of his stuff, like the panels, like jump around between like the past and the past and the future and the present. And I forgot what they actually used. What did Ozymandias use to like scramble like his ability to recognize past and present and future?
Tachyons.
Yeah, he used like a tachyons and
field,
like
yeah.
Like basically like Dr. Manhattan was like repeating himself, or he was like talking in the past. He would be like addressing and talking to people in the future, but
right,
it was really
he says really neat. excuse me, Rorschach, I'm informing Laura 19 seconds ago. And on the actual page, it's him standing next to Laura, talking to her.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's kind of like getting lost in, the different times and what is currently going on and however it works for him.
Yeah. Let's see. Trying to see what actually takes place near the end. The end of issue 1 is the Superman scene.
And maybe, I guess now that I think about it, in this dream that he has, he's dreaming about his parents dying in a car crash.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a clue as the fact that this is one of many DC universes that we're looking at. And so maybe things aren't going to line up exactly what we think of as the prime DC universe. It might be off a little bit. Because as far as I know, that's not a traditional story for Clark Kent's parent, for Martha and Jonathan Kent to die in a car crash.
Right. That's I'm unfamiliar with that origin also. Hey, it is pretty cool that like he's clearly like doesn't have anybody to dance with at like maybe prom, or I forgot if it's prom or if it's like it's prom, senior prom. That he doesn't have anybody to dance with, and he's just like off in the corner, like kind of like sad. And there's
Superman.
Like the words of his like parents, like he's like he'll be fine, like nothing can hurt him, and you can see that he's just like hurting inside,
right,
because of like not being able to interact with the students.
The emotional pain of it. Yeah.
But
that's the problem with raising your kid in friggin' middle of nowhere, Kansas. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a broad enough mind to realize, I could just go to Spain and pretend to be somebody else and do it and party it up and do whatever I want.
Yeah,
but that's whatever.
Why does Superman hang around there anyway?
I really don't understand. Like, of all the places to be, Kansas, really, dude, really? That's where you're gonna spend your time, huh?
I mean, even he can do enough stuff that he could like fly somewhere for like the afternoon,
right?
And it's like come back.
When I was a kid, and this is gonna get into like one of the main reasons I'm not a huge Superman fan is because of character, and he could go anywhere as a kid. Like, you can fly, and just myself with the ability to drive places, I started going out further and further from my parents' house. I would imagine if I had the ability to go anywhere in the world basically instantaneously by flying there, then I would be exploring the entire world, and I really wouldn't care what was going on at the stupid high school where I had to go to school for 5 days a week. I would just want it to be over so I can go back to, Thailand for the evening and have some good Thai food or something. Whatever. Yeah.
Superman's a whole like problem. That's another. It's the original Watchmen handles Dr. Manhattan so well because you have like the Marvel Cinematic Universe issues of like you have Captain America and Hawkeye that like Hawkeye like he shoots arrows. He has no other superpowers, but he's with like legitimate
gods,
or like a god.
Yeah.
And how can you have like a compelling story where people interact and do things when you have such people on vastly different like scales,
right?
And
they in the Avengers defense, they do a good job of handling that. In the first Avengers movie, you have Captain America organizing everybody, and he very much says, hey, Thor and Iron Man, I need you guys to go and clear the skies because that's what you can do. You can take out 100,000 of these aliens, no problem. Hawkeye, go be our eyes and ears. Just go sit in the corner over there. You got good vision, dude. Hang out there. Yeah. Give me some call-outs. Let me know what's going on with the battle, okay? Yeah. And I'll be down here at street level protecting the innocents, Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a difficult thing to deal with,
right?
And as like as modern comics tie everything into like a unified world, it's a thing that they they have to deal with, and Superman has his own. That's a main Superman problem, but John, did you see the look up anything about the book that Superman apparently is probably reading?
No, I didn't.
Middle pane.
Yeah. Walden 2.
First page. Yeah, Walden 2.
Okay.
So Henry Thoreau did Walden Pond, like his like story about going out and like living in like a simple life, like Walden 2. I looked it up. It's kind of about like constructing society in a way to I'll probably horribly like butcher this, but
we
it's
yelled
kind of
at
a
by the
science
Walden
fiction
geeks of
book
the world.
in a way, but it's about making a society where positive actions are rewarded and negative ones are like punished, and making a utopia based on like upbringing and things.
Okay.
It's kind of I don't know, kind of like it might actually be
Kind of like what you would read
World
if you're
War
trying
II,
to.
like super soldier like sort of stuff, like
Okay.
building like perfect people, not like
Is it
genetics,
like what you
but
would
base,
read if you were trying to build a universe from scratch, possibly?
maybe
not. Yeah.
possibly.
Okay.
I would definitely like read into that. That would be like a feather like in the cap of Superman is Dr. Manhattan sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that's actually so one of the variant covers for
Right.
for Doomsday Clock
kind of seems like it gives it away a little bit.
Is John's gonna pull it up
I'll
here,
pull it
but
up here.
it's a for those that aren't or just listening, it's like a half a face of Dr. Manhattan, and then Superman like kind of like just like floating there with his cape fluttering and part of his leg like breaking up into gears and like clock pieces and stuff.
Clockwork pieces.
Yeah, which that's a make sure I got the right origin. Dr. Manhattan as a child was like pressured by his father to like his dad was like a watch repair or work with clocks, and he was like forced to go into engineering and science because that was the future. And so that's definitely like Dr. Manhattan related.
When he builds this huge thing on Mars, right? It's all a giant clockwork mechanism, basically, that he has built on Mars when he leaves humanity for a while in the original Watchmen series. So yeah. I personally think that this is just a hint that the entire DC universe is actually a steampunk universe. We're just never aware of it. And this is way of Geoff Johns finally letting us know that DC is all going to convert to steampunk here shortly. Get ready, guys.
It'll all be this will be season 2 of Westworld.
Yes.
Like they're all robots.
We're tying all the universes here together here, people. Here comes Westworld. Hold on.
Yeah.
Turns out Lex Luthor is actually Anthony Hopkins. Surprise, surprise.
He'd be a good one.
As far as people got to pick for the part.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to the rest of the series.
Yeah, me too. That probably will do it for this episode. On that note,
I can't think of anything. I'm flipping through to see if there's anything else I want to mention, but
I think those were the big things for me. I do like. So one of the cool things about the original Watchmen series was all the details that they go into, and they really go into a lot of detail in the new Doomsday Clock series as well.
They add all the newspaper clippings.
Yeah, there's all kinds of newspaper clippings that are involved. I think it was, let's see. When you look at, there's one panel that has, the Great Lie. So they show basically New York Times, New York Gazette in their world apparently, and around it they have different articles. Talking about all kinds of different stuff that nuclear disarmament stalls. They show a big picture of the squid thing. Just all kinds of little great details there in it. It has actual late edition information, the top right corner for it. Just all those little small touches that were in the original book that they're carrying over that I definitely appreciate from, Geoff Johns, Gary Frank, and Brad Anderson as they're doing this thing.
Yeah, and so cool. John just told me before we started here that this was going to be monthly, but they're shifting to a bi-monthly release schedule.
Yeah, Geoff Johns threw it up on his Twitter feed and he apologized to everybody, basically saying, hey, I appreciate everybody understanding that, we're going to do this bi-monthly. So, which is kind of good for us because it means we don't have to try and squeeze these things in monthly.
We can do this podcast. We get time to read it and actually digest it.
Right.
But they did the same thing with the original Watchmen. The original Watchmen was 12. It was going to be over like one every month, but they only had like 2 done when they started publishing them.
Yeah.
And so they were like rushed, and by the end they were doing it every 2 months.
Yeah, I have a feeling it's the exact same thing with this. Like, to do this much detail that these guys are doing, that's got to be a significant amount of time that it takes. It can't So the idea that you might need 2 months to get one of these done,
Yeah.
that totally makes sense.
John, can you go to the last pages there? They have the. I'm not sure if these are variant covers. One is.
Yeah, so they.
So one has the variant cover that we just talked about.
So this is at the end of the first issue. Is what we're talking about right now.
End of the first issue, the last.
They have a bunch of full page, basically black and whites.
Right, and the second picture is actually the cover that I have for the second.
Okay.
The second issue. So I don't know if these are, if I don't know if the next one is 3 and the next one is 4, like what they have planned out.
Yeah, and the second one, obviously, next time we do this, we'll be talking about Lex Luthor a little bit.
Yeah, so the second one has Luthor.
It's very obvious on this cover here that is Luthor, and it's Ozymandias' hand on Luthor's shoulder that you see there.
And there's the
with his cufflink, you can't miss it.
Yeah, there's the comedian's badge like sitting in front of him also.
Yeah, there is. That's a good detail. I didn't notice that until just now when you said it.
And then the one after that has Batman reading Rorschach's journal.
Yes, which I wonder about that. Does that mean that the new Rorschach somehow has the journal in his possession?
Yeah, in the first part of this, the very first couple pages of the first issue, it says that the journal was stolen.
Okay.
It doesn't say by who, but possibly.
Yeah.
It ended up back in Rorschach's hands.
Well, and that's one thing that we haven't, I guess, said yet. We have no idea who Rorschach. I personally have no idea who Rorschach is at this point.
Yeah, it's not revealed in the second issue yet either.
Yeah, I was trying to think of significant characters of color, for lack of a better phrasing, from the original series that it could be, and
the kid that read the Tales of the Black Freighter.
Right, there's the kid, right, and then there's also the doctor.
Right.
Yeah, who was a dad from the original series. So maybe it seems really cheesy if it's like the psychiatrist's son read Rorschach's files and became Rorschach himself. Like, really? No.
Yeah, that's weird.
I don't buy it.
Like, he's also like in fit shape, and the psychiatrist in the original one was not. It was like older and pudgy. But I wonder if they're gonna do any like a side like story like the was it Tales of the Black Freighter?
Maybe. Like the Rorschach origin that they did.
Like a couple issues in, I think, in the original Watchmen. But yeah, that's a neat. That story like kind of parallels Ozymandias' like thought process,
right?
And like,
so maybe hopefully we'll get something like that. That'll show where this new Rorschach came from, and it will be a good origin versus something that's like, oh, come on. We'll see.
Yeah. It's somebody from the DC universe that went back into
the I really hope not.
To go back.
Oh, I hope not.
Yeah. We'll see.
It's a Flash that's gone back in time or something,
Right. No, it's the Joker. The Joker goes back.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah.
So. But I mean, Joker's going to be in it because the next
he has to be.
Two after this, like if you go like next
that's right.
Cover has Rorschach, and then there is a Joker cover,
right?
Which I can't really see anything.
No, you see insane looking tree in the background.
Bomb.
I'm not sure. Is that the night owl symbol that he has in his hand there, or something? The end.
Yeah. What? I don't know what the night owl.
I guess that's something worth mentioning. Is that in this first issue, you don't know where Danny the night owl.
Yep.
Or where Silk Spectre, where either one of them currently
they have to show up. Like what? Like there has to be something with them. But yeah, they're not there. It is only Rorschach and
Ozymandias.
That's it. That's and besides Mime and Marionette, those are the new characters.
But
so,
cool, man. On that note. I think we've covered the first issue. This is the first episode of our new Doomsday Clock countdown. For now, we're calling it. I'm not crazy about the title, so when you actually look this up, it might be called something different than what we're calling it right now. We'll see.
Yeah, I'll give it some thought.
Yeah. I'm not totally sold on it. I came up with it on a whim. Like, we'll go with that for the moment. It's a placeholder. Cool. I'll definitely pick up the issue, guys, and hope you've enjoyed listening to me and Josh kind of talk about this thing, and we'll be back again for talking about episode 2.
Yeah. Great.
Talk to you guys later.
See ya.